Hi, you joined me in Chicago circa mid-March, where we are capping off a number of days of lovely weather with a snowstorm. So here's the deal. My wife and I just bought a condo. Congratulations are in order down in the comments. You don't have to, but whatever. So the outcome of that is going to be I'm going to record a whole bunch of videos today, and then what you'll be getting is just extra videos I've recorded over the last couple of months, on the expectation that I would need something to fill in a long gap like this where we move all our stuff over. So the bookshelf behind me will not be there for much longer. It will go somewhere else, and I guess I'll see you again there whenever the the canned videos end. But for this one, I wanted to go back to this bottle that I put in my St. Patrick's Day video, the Poitin video. I originally planned to have this as part of the review, and when I actually tried it and kind of got to know it a little bit, I decided it needed its own special hot take, because I wanted to use this as a way to talk about Ralphie and the Ralphie movement, and the effects that it has had over the last 10 years. And I don't mean to like throw shade on Ralphie. I've learned an enormous amount from Ralphie. But I didn't want to, but there has been a sort of monkey's paw effect to him, in a way, getting everything he's wanted, or a lot of what he's wanted in the world of whiskey. So I thought we could take a while to talk about this. So this is the Whistler Irish whiskey. It is aged 10 years old. Age statement. Crafted by Boann Distillery. We will talk about that crafted by part. It is a single malt from Ireland, non-chill filtered, natural color. It is marked and bottled at 46% alcohol. Now, they mention there's not a whole lot of information on here beyond that, but they do tell you on the front that this was matured first in bourbon oak casks, they're calling it, and then finished in sherry oloroso oak casks. So we're getting a secondary maturation here of this whiskey in the oloroso. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to give you some tasting notes, add some water, give you some more tasting notes after that, and then we'll talk about the Ralphie revolution a little bit. Okay, the Whistler 10-year-old Irish whiskey on the nose. Okay, oloroso cask all day long. I mean, part of the fun of nosing sherry monsters is not just the sherry cask; it's the dialogue, whether that be a fight or you know a happy marriage between the a big sherry cask and the malt, the malty character. You get this in Glendronach, in Macallan at its best, in Bunnahabhain, in just that is what, you know, to some extent a sherry monster should be, is that sort of combination of a distillate that's kind of going to stand up to this big huge cask influence. And that really isn't happening here. The cask has, the oloroso has completely taken over. This whiskey, it doesn't smell like it was, you know, like something that was aged for a while and then finished in oloroso. This feels like something that was just, you know, just aged and young, you know, aged entirely in oloroso for a very short period of time. It's almost as if the initial maturation did practically nothing to this. And it's really a kind of wet oloroso too. You're really getting the character of the sherry here. So it's not just the dried fruit and stuff. You're getting that sort of character of oxidized wine. So we're talking, you know, top notes, dried fruit all day long, figs, golden raisins, dates, maybe some dried cherries in there too. Black pepper, like overstewed tea, maybe like an overstewed oolong tea. Like not a nice oolong. This is a sort of, tea bag oolong. Uh, there's a nice orange peel note in this, which I like very much. You get that in oloroso wine sometimes. But then, in addition to that, which you would expect, you're also getting some very winey, as I said, winey oxidative notes. You're getting some like gasoline exhaust from an old car, like an old I don't know, an old Lamborghini Miura just did burn out in your face. There's a little old leather too, which you get a lot in these kinds of whiskeys. But there's just no malt distillate character to be found in this, really, at this point, anyways. And no bourbon cask character to be found here either. I mean, no way. There's a little cinnamon sugar maybe, but that's that feels like it's coming from the oloroso too. So this is all sherry bomb all day long. Just that for the camera. On the palate, perfectly good. The Ralfy characteristics, the lack of chill filtration, the extra 46% strength, the lack of caramel is doing a ton of favors for this. This is very big, full in the mouth, and it's a very solid sherry bomb. You're getting just dried fruit, all like burned dried fruit though. Like you took a little blowtorch and just toasted up your dried fruit a little bit. Prunes again, figs, cherries, raisins, some dried oranges maybe. And then black pepper, black tea too. But beyond there's just like something hot, like a Scotch bonnet pepper kind of thing, like a sweeter style of hot pepper, island cuisine. Nutmeg, kind of a nutshell characteristic, like a toasted nutshell, like you took your blowtorch to the nutshells too. A little bit of a cigar characteristic, like you had like someone put out like a Maduro leaf cigar, so it's a little ashy on one end. You just kind of put all that in your mouth and start chewing on it. You're getting a little bit of that. Very solid. Doesn't come across as too old. It's still stopping about halfway through my mouth at the finish. But the finish that is there is holding on nicely. It doesn't feel clipped or anything like it all. The way this has been presented is definitely doing it favors. All right, so what I'm going to do now is add a squirt of water, not a teaspoon. I really should have brought a teaspoon out in honor of Ralphie for this. And I'll let it sit here for a minute, and we'll come back to it in a second. Now, I did say I would come back to this crafted by part. You will notice it does not say distilled by Boann, because they haven't been around long enough really to produce a 10-year-old whiskey. I believe this is probably bottled 2019, 2020 or something like that. So this is sourced whiskey. Who knows where it's from? Could be Cooley, could be Middleton. I don't think it's Bushmills, because Bushmills is usually triple distilled, and usually when it's triple distilled, they will put it down there somewhere as sort of an indicator. So I would guess Cooley or maybe Middleton, probably Cooley, because that seems to be a little bit easier to get a hold of. Yeah, so this is a bit of a strange situation where you're getting all of these sort of terrific objective pluses in the way that this is presented, but what's actually being presented underneath is sourced whiskey that's been finished in a very heavy secondary maturation, namely a sherry cask. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about in a minute. Okay, so back to this thing now that's had a chance to open up. By the way, I know Ralphie recommends the swirly swirly, no shaky shaky, but shaky shaky seems to work for me a lot of the time. It works in wine. It seems to work just fine in whiskey and other spirits as well. With water, um, okay. First of all, it gets a little more orangey. You get a little kind of a marmalade thing coming through now, which is nice. But it also gets a hair bit more like grassy. There's a dried grass characteristic, maybe some like dried flowers thrown in there too, which is maybe the original distillate, this sort of pre-finished distillate, kind of creeping through a little bit. That's all I'm getting though. There's also a little bit of a like a pencil shavings thing, like a wood dust, pencil dust kind of thing, intermingled with the dried grass. I would guess that's from whatever this was originally, but that's kind of all that's there on the palate. Mm. Okay, with water, it does fall apart just a little bit. It does get a little bit unbalanced. Not too bad though. This is still nice. Um, gets more peppery. That sort of orange slice characteristic. No, I said marmalade on those, didn't I? No, on the palate, it's more orange slices, little orange candies. They start to come out a little bit, so sort of candied orange. Um, there's some like pu'er tea in this. Not nice pu'er, just like everyday drinking pu'er. Yeah, lots of black pepper, lots of big wood tannins, um, and they really come to dominate when you add some water in. And it doesn't. I've experimented with this. It doesn't really settle down that much more if you give it more time. Um, so I would give this. I'm a little torn on this because objectively, I think this is very good, and I think that the presentation is really helping it out. So I would give this objectively 84 points, but at the same time, it feels a little bit cold. I'm left. I don't. I feel absolutely nothing towards this. It feels a little anonymous to me. It's a little bit like what I feel when I watch like Russian ballet or something. Like in my brain, I can appreciate the level of artistry, and I can appreciate the absolute hell, the effort that the dancers go through to be able to do what they're doing, and yet I am sort of left just feeling it's a little bit soulless. It's a little bit mechanical. It's a little bit lacking in personality and humanity. Um, and that's kind of what I'm left with here. If you can get it, I got this off a closeout shelf, um, and if you can do that, if you can grab this for a good price, it's a good value. But you know, man, it just doesn't have a ton of personality besides the Ralphiness of it, if I can put it that way. And that's kind of what I want to come to. So what what has the Ralphie revolution in whiskey been about? When you sort of break it down, well, Ralphie is annoyed by many things. He is annoyed by small print. He is annoyed by the banks. Apparently, he is annoyed by England above all. But the things he has focused on over the years have been higher bottling strengths, right? 46%. Lack of chill filtration, natural color, and having those things stayed in the bottle. And maybe, probably, I would say not to the extent, but with a lot of emphasis on age statements. Throw an age statement on your damn bottle. He doesn't even review things anymore unless they've got age statements on them. unless they're like, not Scotch whiskey. Um, so those have been the big things from the beginning. You watch his first 4 videos, what you got is Glenn Breton, independent producer. That's another thing he's pushed for is, smaller producers, independent producers. Then you had sort of Talisker, the 10, and Aberlour Abuna, sort of both large brands, but sort of higher proof bottlings from large brands. And then fourth, you had it was an independent bottling of Port Ellen by, I think, the Bladnock folks, Bladnock Forum. So you're talking about higher proofs, independent producers, independent bottling and sort of independent bottling style presentation, lack of chill filtration, lack of color additive, and that kind of stuff. That's really been the thing he's been pounding on, and that's kind of what stuck. He's kind of gotten his wishes in a lot of respects. Glenlivet, Glenfiddich will still sell their base products at 40% and yada yada yada, but all the big boys are now putting out higher proof bottlings that service the nerds. Like, it is just not that hard to find those things, even if you're stuck in a state control store or something like that. You can find those things. You can find things that hit all those Ralphie markers now, and that has been the effect of the Ralphie revolution, at least in whiskey. He's he has this, his love for rums is I still find his rum taste a little bit questionable, but sorry, Ralphie, I love you. But think about the effects of the sort of monkey's paw side effects of that. I hated Wonder Woman 1984, but I deeply hated that movie for many reasons. But the sort of old monkey's paw thing is not entirely wrong. Sometimes you can get everything you wish for and just isn't quite right. So to the extent that Ralphie was wishing for a world of smaller independent producers pushing stuff, bottled at higher proof, with a more natural style of craft, if you like, style of presentation, he's got it. We are living in that world now. But there has been a monkey's paw effect of that, which is, in a world where we're demanding smaller, where we made room for smaller producers, but at the same time we demand from them, high quality and markers of high quality, like age statements, higher bottling proofs, that kind of thing, and we're asking for prices that can compete with the big boys, if not necessarily beat the big boys. That's tough. That is tough to ask for. And you can say, well, we just want an age statement, period. We don't want and that could be 3 years old, whatever you need. But I mean, realistically, you have to play. If you want to make money, you do have to play a little bit to the to the lawn seats. I'm not encouraging that. I'm not making excuses, but they're in the business to make money, and when you're Ardbeg, you can slap a 5-year age statement on your whiskey, and everyone will cheer and go out and buy it. But if you're a small, Irish distillery, distilling producer, people might, look at it, sitting your 3-year-old whiskey sitting next to, Bushmills 10 or, Red Rest 12 or something like that, and go, I'd rather, get the older one because that looks like it'll be better. You need a brand first before you can sort of sell yourself as the value. Anyways, so, but insofar as we still demand the things that have attracted the lawn seat sitters before, the high age statements, the dark color. People still like dark color even after years of Laphroaig, being straw colored. People still associate darker colors with more flavor. What you're going to get is folks cutting corners, and overwhelmingly that has been in the form of sourced whiskey. Not so much in Scotland, right? Because there are sort of more established rules, I would say, about how independent bottling goes there. But Ireland, the US, the rest of the world, I mean, lots of the smaller producers there are just effectively independent bottlings, presenting themselves as if they were distilleries or about to become distilleries. And that, and they sort of individualize what they're selling through things like, funky cask finishes. And it also has the effect of making it darker, making the color darker. I would imagine, I mean, based on the characters I'm getting from the very little character I'm getting from the original pre-oloroso finish on this, I would, the original color of this must have been, very light indeed. So it does make your whiskey look better on the shelf when you throw it into a big heavy cask for a couple of months. So this is we've sort of our wishes have come true. At the same time, we've created this world where the smaller producers, which we want to love and cherish and nourish to maturity, are really just buying, their spirit from some, huge producer, bottling it under their own name in Ralphie fashion a lot of the time, and giving it a finish, doing some other things to make it individual. But and that's kind of what we got. Is this better than the way things were, in the pre-Ralphie days? Absolutely, absolutely. All I wanted to point out is, with talking about this, is the consequences of pushing the market in a certain kind of direction, and the leakage is a bad word. I wanted to say leak. The side effects of doing that, because this is what the people wanted, or this is what the Ralphie revolution wanted, and yet it really, really isn't at the same time. So what we got to do is somehow figure out, how do we push the market not back to where it was, because that would be bad, but how do we push it towards, individuality of expression, more so than, just being able to put the necessary stuff on the front of your bottle that will, get approval from folks like me on YouTube. That's a tough one. I don't know how that works. And I think a lot of it just comes down to word of mouth, people recognizing what distilleries, that are making their own, first of all, are making their own stuff, but also, have real character to them. That's maybe that's my job too. That's all I got, though. I hope some of this was worth thinking about and useful, and thanks for watching, and cheers.